Hey there lads, it's me TheTacticalBrit, your home of breakdowns, guides and everything in between, and here is Call of Duty Modern Warfare Ground War mode. Now, naturally this has been something that's been tipped towards being a little bit more Battlefield styled. It's very much a departure from what's typical in Call of Duty, and today I want to break down what I feel about it, whether or not this is really something for a Battlefield player, and really just dive into it. Now before I continue, please head over to my Twitter account. At the moment I'm giving away a PlayStation 4 Pro, Astro headset and Scuff gaming controller, all courtesy of Call of Duty UK. All you have to do is send me your best clips of the game using hashtag MWTacticalBrit. Please check it out. There are lots of great submissions so far, but I really do want to give back to some of you guys, and I feel as though a lot of you have a very good chance of winning something in this giveaway. So Ground War mode. Is it Battlefield? Absolutely not. It's never going to be. It's not a departure towards Battlefield in the sense that it's trying to be Battlefield, it's trying to compete with Battlefield, but it's a really fun mode. This is something that I kind of want to bring to the fold in this discussion because I feel in the Battlefield community it's completely gone amiss. Now there are some problems with it, especially in terms of things like kill streaks, spawns, and some other bits that need rejigging like capturing flags. But beyond that, in terms of a game mode, it is just a lot of fun. It brings the really great gunplay that Modern Warfare has into a much larger scope and setting. All it needs to do is flesh out a little bit, which is kind of the point of a beta. Now, I've been quite impressed with it just purely because I don't know, I've just been, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just the fact that I've had some really good kill games, but you know, I've just had such a great experience spawning in, learning flanking routes, learning how I can outdo my opponents, flashbanging them, tactical grenades, everything in between. And the best way I described it really is on Twitter. Is Ground War Battlefield? No. Is it crazy fun? Fuck yeah, it's great fun. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun to play. But it's definitely far from perfect. So let's talk about what the game mode does well. Well, to start with, it's great gunplay, it's a punchy environment, and I feel as though they've tried to flesh out the map. What I've been very impressed with so far is that in certain regions of the map, you can really see that they've done traditional close quarters attention to detail. Like in Battlefield in some ways where you get onto some flags and it feels like they've been very well designed, but others not so much. I feel as though every flag, for the most part, without thinking about spawns for now, because that's its kind of own topic at the moment, has been great. It's been, you know, really well thought out. I feel as though you get into some great engagements on these objectives, just purely off the basis that they've been well designed and thought through people who traditionally make competitive maps, and I feel as though that shows very heavily in the game. What else does pretty well? Well, it's got a cool start. I do like the intro sequence. Everybody coming in together, the ability to be able to spawn on flags and teammates, of course, is a fantastic feat as well. And I feel as though in terms of feeling like you're in a team, it's quite there. But in terms of kind of whether or not it's a great team play experience on the whole, definitely not. It's not really too encouraging. It does encourage you to spawn on players. It gives you points if you spawn on squad mates. It gives you points for attacking and defending. But ultimately, it's a Call of Duty player base. It's not really going to do too well in the realm of team play. And again, just to reiterate, it's actually quite a lot of fun. You know, I played it with some of my boys today from university. We hopped in, had a few rounds, and I had a really good time. You know, we were just bantering away. If you want to play it super focusy try-hard mode like you're seeing in this footage today, you can do that. But if you want to just play it kind of casually with your friends, it does that well as well. So what's not quite working at the moment? Well, for starters, we have a huge issue with the announcers. Every 5 seconds it's UAV in the sky, UAV here, captured said objective. I put it down to like 10% volume just to be less annoying. The announcer is certainly overpowering a lot of things and it shouldn't be so potent, but I think a lot of that is linked into another issue, which is kill streaks. Now you can earn kill streaks in Ground War, and I think for somebody, if you're a high skill player or you play relatively well, you'll definitely get lots and lots and lots of kill streaks. I think out of the sort of 10 or so games I played today, I think one of them I didn't get, you know, a VTOL at least in. And that's not because this is just some weird flex, I'm just saying like, you know, the statistical likelihood that out of 64 players, a good percentage of them are going to get lots of kill streaks is quite high. And I feel as though that this needs to be changed. I feel as though there should be a limitation or a cooldown period between kill streaks, just purely because the problem we're having right now is that we've suddenly got like 65 kill streaks in the air right now. You know, there's a VTOL, then there's a support gunner, then, you know, if you're using something else like a UAV, there's like 6 of those too. It becomes a very clamored and clustered experience. Now, you don't actually notice it too much, I think, especially when I was indoors in a lot of the buildings, which is where the majority of the flags are. I wasn't very heavily affected by any of it, but it just feels as though there's too much of them right now, and that significantly needs toning down. Next up, we have issues with capture zones. The capture zones at the moment aren't large enough. You have to be in a very sort of close quarters vicinity to them to get anything done. And not only does that make you very prone to kill streaks, but it's also just not that great an experience. The larger the capture radius, the better, because you find the better conflicts show on top of those capture points. And I really feel as though both the kill streaks, the announcer, and these capture zone problems are teething issues. Just Call of Duty has never really done anything to this scale before, and it feels though it certainly shows. Now, whilst they have done lots of stuff correct, like being able to spawn on squad mates and being able to spawn on objectives, it's some of the finer details that definitely need some adjusting. And in that ballpark, I would like to see much larger capture radiuses, and I'd like to see them shown on the minimap. Now, obviously, we don't want red dot madness everywhere, but I'd like to at least be able to see where the capture radius is, like you could in a traditional Battlefield game. Next up is definitely netcode and definitely server performance. I had a couple of games where I dropped out really quickly because the server just crashed or something to do with hosting. I feel as though this is because they haven't deployed their servers properly or to the largest extent for something like Ground War. I think it kind of shows at the moment, because in actual 6v6 games, you're clearly in a dedicated server based on just how ping, netcode, hosting, and stuff like that goes, and the amount of people that join and leave. But if you head into a ground war game, sometimes when somebody leaves, the game closes, and I purely believe that's because they just haven't deployed servers for it. I feel as though some of the games are server hosted, some of them are not, but there's no confirmation on that. It's just a feeling that I have based on what I've seen. So we certainly need to see some of the netcode elements fixed in Ground War. It's something I'd like to see change relatively quickly before the game releases, because Ground War, on the whole, if you're playing by yourself or playing with some friends, in terms of gunplay, can be a very satisfying experience. It's just that really sucks. And especially with the netcode, it's not something you want. The next thing I'd like to see changed is some of the handling of the vehicles, and I'd also like a first-person perspective for some of them, which would be great. Some of the IVFs especially don't handle very well, and in terms of shooting, you can't look up too quickly into the sky because it blocks you with your own vehicle. So a first-person swappable perspective would be great in that sense, and I feel that that's something that's kind of necessary if you're going to do vehicles in a game, so I'd like to see that changed relatively quickly, and I think that's an important change if you're really trying to push a larger mode with just a larger scale in general. And finally, and probably the most important, is spawning. Spawning in Ground War is terrible. It's so bad. Often you find yourself in situations where somebody could have direct line of sight on you, and that's just not anything you want in a large scale mode. Spawns definitely need work. I feel as though across the game they're not in a great way at the moment, but I think it's especially highlighted in Ground War. It definitely needs fixing in things like the headquarters mode and domination and team deathmatch, but in Ground War it really badly shows, and I really hope that that is something that's looked at and that's something that changes. So I'd like to see that come up. Spawning is becoming quite an issue in this beta. I think it's becoming quite abundantly clear that that's going to be a problem. But Infinity Ward, on the whole, I have to say, have reacted really well to some of the criticisms so far about the game. So I'd like to see that, you know, we get the same level of response for something like this, which is generally a quite important topic when it comes to, you know, just general gameplay. But that's about it. Truth be told, this isn't a Battlefield killer. It never was going to be. I don't feel as though it was pitched that way. I feel as though a lot of people kind of went, ooh, they're trying to shoot down Battlefield. Myself included at some points where I was like, hey, you know, this does look like they're aiming for a wider audience. Now, I still do believe that they're aiming for a wider audience, but I don't necessarily believe that they're aiming to copy and paste the Battlefield formula, so to speak, because something I've always said is that they're two very different games that do things very differently, and saying that, like, I don't know, Battlefield does large modes better is creating some kind of scale. And when you do that, you introduce just stupid variables, because if you're to say that Battlefield is the best open world large conquest game, well, somebody will say, actually no, it's Squad, and then somebody will say, well, actually no, it's Arma 3. It's really just down to preference, really, and some people are going to enjoy this mode, some people aren't. I don't necessarily believe that it's going to, you know, pry away lots of Battlefield players, but for me personally, I had a pretty good time with it, and I found it to be quite enjoyable. So folks, that's it from me today, TheTacticalBrit. I'm going to leave you with this gameplay just purely because I was fire on this match. Like, I've had some really good ground war matches. But yeah, thank you guys for coming in, and please check out my Twitter giveaway. I would love to see some of you guys win that gear. I really appreciate your support over the past couple of weeks. Thank you, and I'll see you again soon in the next video.